Nigel.
Hi everyone, welcome back for another test drive video. Got the Honda E today. So yes, I am actually thinking about and comparing the Mini to the Honda E. And yeah, I've driven it back from the dealership so far and got home, got the cameras set up and started to learn how to configure the dash screens and just learn about the car generally before I set off and do this little test. And the 6 or 7 miles that I've travelled, the first thing I noticed was it's a soft car. You know, it's everything I was saying the Mini is in its tightness and its tautness and heaviness of steering and pedal. This is the opposite. This is more like the Kona and the Ioniq. It's very light power steering. The suspension is soft, so it rides bumps really well. If you've just seen James and Kate's review of the Honda E, they talk about going over speed bumps, and yes, we've had a few speed bumps in the village here, and yeah, it goes over them really, really well. There's no jarring, it's very comfortable. But what this car doesn't have is seat support. So both the suspension and the seats allow you to roll quite a lot. So as per usual, I'm out on my test route. So it's a 6.5 mile, coincidence the same distance, 6.5 mile test route going up and down some hills, some country lanes, and I'm going to drive exactly the same as I have in the Ioniq and the Kona and the Mini and see what efficiency rate we get in this car. Temperature is 21 degrees C, so the battery should be fine. It should be plenty warm enough. I've also had a bit of a test drive beforehand, so again, whatever it needs to warm up on an electric car, it should have warmed up. It's a little bit more misty today. The test drives I did with the Ioniq and the Kona were in bright, brilliant sunshine, but the road's dry, there's no rain, and I'm driving slow enough that really this shouldn't make any difference whatsoever to the test. I would expect to get the car's best from this test result in these conditions, or maybe just a fraction less, but not a lot. Anyway, so we're on that test route, and while I'm going around, I'll try and tell you what I've learned about the car so far. And let's start with the negatives. The negatives so far are this rear view mirror issue here, where it's got an HD camera looking back, which is very, very good for seeing out, in that you're not seeing your passenger's head or the seat head support rests at the back. You're seeing just what the camera can see. But if I flick it into just rear view mirror mode, it just goes black, and yeah, when my eyes adjust, I can now see from it. But as I flick backwards and forwards, whoa, it's probably my eyesight, but the screen goes blurry. I cannot see and cannot focus on the screen as I'm flicking onto the camera view, and it takes a little while to actually get my eyes to physically focus. So I don't like that transition. And the other thing is, when I'm looking at some detail on the camera, if I flick it into camera mode, it's like zooming in, so you get more detail. I would say it's like having an action camera versus a normal camera, so that you've got a wide angle lens and the detail just looks further away in camera mode. So yes, you've got a wider field of vision, and yes, you can see without having any obstacles in the back of the car, but it's not zoomed in enough. I don't know if there are any options for that. There are some buttons up here, probably for auto adjustment of the light, etc. But it's the clarity. I look up and I cannot see what's actually in the mirror. I can only see a picture, and it is slightly blurry. So I actually prefer it in the ordinary mirror mode, where it's just a reflective panel, which is a little bit of a shame for me. With my eyesight, it just doesn't work very well. It's a bit gimmicky, and flicking across, it's an annoyance that it just doesn't work really for me. So I find that annoying. The other thing is the fantastic side mirrors. So instead of having mirrors on the side of the car, you've got some digital screens on the left and right for your wing mirrors. So you've got cameras looking back, and that's ideal, apart from where I have my 2 o'clock hand position in my seating position. Half the screen is obscured, so that's not ideal. So I guess if I moved the steering wheel further towards me, then actually my hand would cover the entire screen. So depending on your comfortable seating position, how big and how tall you are, and where you hold the steering wheel, you can see that or not, whereas a normal mirror on the outside of a car wouldn't be obscured at all. So that's not really, it's not perfect, but I've got used to them very, very quickly. So just driving a little distance has got me used to them. There's some interesting, you press this left-hand stalk button and you get some orange ticks on the car, giving you visual guidance as to distances for the car. I'm not sure exactly what they are, whether the left mirror is showing distance to the curb or whether it's showing just gauging distance where the front wheel is and the end wheel is, etc. I'm not sure what that is. On the right hand side I can only see, the driver's side, I can only see 2 orange tick marks, so I'm not sure what that's indicating again. I'd have to read the manual, wouldn't I? But nice to see some features. Other things that I don't like, my perfect seating position. I'm nice and comfortable, I'm laid back slightly, but the steering wheel's not at full reach, but it's not really tucked up with me. It's nice and comfortable. I tried to adjust the seat as I was driving along on the way back from the dealership, and basically don't do that on a test drive, because basically the seat just went woof, it went straight back, not completely flat, but it went back far enough to make me really uncomfortable driving. It didn't have enough tight adjustment that you can do it while driving, so pull over and stop and be safe. The other thing was, it was really jerky. You needed 2 hands to actually hold the seat and then hold the lever. It's like it disengaged everything, then you moved the seat to the right angle and then away you went. We're just misting up inside, so let's turn the fan on, make sure air conditioning is off. Yeah, air conditioning's off. So what else don't I like about this car? I don't mind these retro heater controls, that's not so bad. But the radio controls, what on earth are they doing flat on top of this dash? They're just in the wrong place. One, distance-wise, my full arm reach is here at the button, and it's not ideal. I have to stretch a bit further forward or lean to get to this button, and then you're rotating it on top, whereas all of these are rotated, mounted at more at an angle at the side. So I really think that these radio controls would have been better mounted here, slightly upright here and above. That would have been much, much better, and you could have kept this cleaner and straighter, so it would have looked nicer, but all the buttons would have been in the similar directions. That I just don't find very usable, and it is too far out of my reach. The other thing is, you've got these other screens with the buttons over there that now physically I can't get anywhere near. So even if I lean forward and lean forward and lean forward and lean forward, I can't get up here. But they're not actually supposed to be for me. My understanding of this car's configuration is that this set here is what I will control and I will use, and I can configure this so I can drag some of those over and put them over here, which I've done, which I'll include a little video clip of me doing that. That seems really easy, so I can configure this to all the things I want. I don't have to go over there, but if I do, I'm going to have to pull over really. It's not really safe to reach over there and use them, but it's fine for the passenger. These sort of screens, these are swipeable, so you can move everything. I quite like this. So it's looking like what I've got here on these buttons, it's changing what I've got on this screen. So those buttons will change what's on that screen. So if I want something else over there, like I want the power flow, if I click the button for power flow, it should appear over on this left-hand screen. But again, how far I've had to reach to do that is not ideal. So basically you'd have it set up and leave it where it is. It's just not brilliant. But these things here, I've got this button at the top, I can use that and it rotates what's around, so I can bring it over to me. And then again I can click the button here and change that to be trip, and the trip comes over here. But now I haven't got my power meter, so how do I get the power meter? Power flow comes on that screen, send it over to the other one. Now I can use trip computer, and trip computer comes. So you can sort of see I can do it from here and I can send the details over, but it's a little bit of a faff, and it takes a little bit of getting used to. Those are just a few of the things that I dislike so far. Most of what I've seen with the car is actually really good. I keep noticing little tiny things that are different to other cars, and I like it, like the interior lights. I like a row of 4 independent LEDs. I like that. That looks really nice. There's a light button in the back, and I'm not sure what it actually does, but it's nice again to have a rear passenger control of some description. So that's good. What else do I like about the car? In the centre of the dash here, there's a little Honda E image, and what I really like about that, and I don't know if you can pick it up on camera, but if I lift my foot off, we're actually coasting, but if I brake, the brake lights come on the icon on the car. So one of the things that people wonder with an electric car is when you're using regen, you're using braking, do the rear lights come on? It tells you, it shows you here on this little image whether the brake lights are on. I like that, that's a cool little feature. And I think that's the sort of thing with this car, there's lots of cool little features. And someone that likes gadgets and likes cool things, they're going to like this car. It's got a lot of them. Are they gimmicky? Well, sort of, but yeah, like that one, that's actually quite good. So we've got D for drive mode showing on the screen, and I've got a selector down here on my left where the handbrake would normally be, and I can put it into sport or normal. So we've got two drive modes in drive, and normal's what I'm going to be testing most of the time. I'll have a little go in sport later, but I'm interested in economy on this test run, so I'm keeping well within the speed limits, doing what I've done before. And here we go on lap 1. Lap 1, trip A, done 6.5 miles, that's right, and average 5.1 miles per kilowatt hour. Ugh, 5.1. That is not good. So in the Kona, I was getting 5.8, 5.9 on the first lap. In the Ioniq, we're talking 6.6, and in the Mini, we were talking the same as the Ioniq as well. And second lap in, I was getting, what was it, 6.8, 6.9 is what I was getting from the Ioniq and the Mini. And the Kona was getting 6.2 to 6.4 miles per kilowatt hour. So we are way, way off that. So anyway, the car is currently in non-regen mode. So I take my foot off the accelerator and we're coasting. The first thing to say on the coasting, it's not like the Ioniq or the Kona where the coasting just seems to go free and it just goes. There's no resistance whatsoever. There is resistance in this. It is slowing down. It's coasting, but not as you know it. It's different. But if I press the one pedal driving button, which is just underneath the D, that now gives me control with the paddles for regen modes for one pedal driving. So I've got the left paddle for increasing, the right paddle for reducing the amount of regen. So I can have it on 1, 2 and 3. So it's a bit like the Kona and the Ioniq, but it's turning on and off based on this other button down here. So these paddles only work if you've turned the button on for one pedal driving. And I think that's a little bit of a slip up with Honda. What they could have done was left paddle, pull and hold, engages one pedal driving. Then you wouldn't have to go down and touch this button at all. You could have just used the paddles. So I don't think they've programmed that very well. But does it work, and does it feel okay? I guess so. Let's see what we're doing. I'm in regen level 1, so I can see one dash, one little down arrow next to the D, and take my foot off the throttle. Yeah, there's some regen. That's, you know, like level 1 in the Kona. If I press the left paddle and go up a level, so I'm now in regen level 2, take my foot off the throttle, brake lights definitely come on, and it regened a lot more. Put it into 3. Okay, yeah, very assertive regen. So 1, 2 and 3 are similar to the Kona, shall I say, and similar to the Ioniq. It works really, really well. But what feels most comfortable? I guess it depends whether you like coasting or not. I almost miss the freewheeling of the Kona because that really gives you a sense of energy efficiency. Whether it really is helping or not, I don't know. Just putting the windscreen demister on. Misting up a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see on the second lap. I should get better efficiency, but I've now put it into one pedal driving, and it's gone down so far. We're at 4.7 miles per kilowatt hour. So it's that's why this car doesn't get a lot of range. I actually picked the car up from the dealership and it said 86, 88 miles of range on the car, but then drove 6 miles and it actually had more range at the end of that trip than it had at the start of the trip. So clearly the car's been driven hard in the first place. So the range, the guessometer, the GOM, isn't accurate as yet. In fact, it keeps going up. We're at 93 miles now, and yet I've driven 8 miles plus 6, 14 miles so far, and it only started at 80 something, so the range is increasing. It's not going down at all at the moment, as you'd expect with this sort of economical driving. Steering wise, again, I wouldn't say it's vague, I wouldn't say it's loose. It feels somewhere between the two. It's accurate. I like it. I like how the steering feels. It corners nicely, but again, there's too much roll of me rolling around, so it's a comfortable ride, but I'm not enjoying the ride really. I'm not engaged with the car. I am sitting more on it than in it, if that makes any sense. Judging the car's size obviously isn't a problem because it's a small car in the first place, but getting used to these wing mirrors and judging them, no, it's not difficult. I would almost say there's a slight perception change about, it almost feels like there's a delay in the mirrors, that what I'm looking at isn't what I've got now, but it will be what's there in a fraction of a second. It does feel a little different than using a normal mirror on judging the width of the car, but it really only took me just a few moments of looking and judging it to get used to it, and yeah, I like it, and I like those little marks, whatever they're telling me. I think that will work when I get used to it. So judging the car and size of the car, it feels okay. It's mini-ish size. I believe it's slightly taller, I believe it's slightly longer. And I'm just noticing I've got the lights on in the back up there, so obviously that little switch that I used on the door, that needs turning off, no doubt, to turn the interior lights off. No, I must admit I do not like that rear view mirror. I can see stuff in it, but it's not clear, so my eyes aren't focused on it, so I actually don't like it. The power meter thing, that's quite nice. This power flow diagram, so it is showing, you know, from the battery to the wheels and all that sort of stuff like they normally do, but there's a little fan here as well. So it's actually got the fan speed, so it's showing me the climate controls over there on that as well, and it's also showing me the impact of range by turning the fan speed up, so +2 miles with fan off. That's quite nice. The fact that the power flow's got the range on it and the miles per kilowatt hour is really nice as well, so they've got lots of information, lots of detail in that image, and the battery percent, so pretty much all the main things you want, including this power meter changing round, all the information I want is over there. That's nice. That is a nice little display, and then the trip meters over here, that's nice as well. What else have we got? We've got over here a current drive button. So it's showing what we're doing currently with this. Alright, so you've got 3 trips, trip A, B, and the current drive as well. So that's all okay. It's just lots of information. Lots of information. So I've got the range over here, I've got the range over there, and the battery over there, and do I have the range over here? Yeah, I've got the range over here. So I've got the range displayed 3 different times. Bit of a duplication, but nice to know because it's customizable, so I can have whatever I want on whatever screens. Right, I haven't tried the sunroof yet. It's got a nice sun shield on that. That's really smooth, feels good quality. Doors opening and shutting feel good quality. Everything feels okay quality wise. I'm quite impressed with the car. I would say that this car tends to like being driven slowly. Some cars you struggle to drive slower than 30 miles an hour, or struggle to get to 30 miles an hour, it just wants to go. Where this car doesn't. This car is very, very happy doing 20 or 30 miles an hour. It's uncanny that there is just a sense that the car doesn't want to do any more than that. So I guess the throttle response is so good that at low speeds that you can easily judge your speed between 20 and 30. One of the hard things I find driving here in the UK is they have lots of 20 mile an hour speed limits now, and changing your speed getting down to 20 miles an hour sometimes is hard. the car doesn't really want to do it. You've got to force yourself to go less than 30. This is very, very easy and wants to go less than 30 miles an hour. So it's a good city car. It really is good at what it's supposed to be designed for. I've got so many symbols on this car. There's a little foot on a pedal on the right hand side of the dash up here. I guess that's because I'm in one pedal driving mode. Yeah, I pressed the one pedal driving button and that's now disappeared, so I'm in coasting mode. So that's good. But when you turn coasting mode on and off, it changes your regen level. So if I put the car into regen level 1 and turn one pedal driving off and then on again, it's brought me back in regen 3. So you've got to adjust it back again. So that's a bit like the Kona with drive modes. If you swap drive modes, then it goes to the regen level that's configured with that drive mode, which might be different to what you were using before. So you then have to override it again manually. Same sort of thing here. If you're swapping around with one pedal driving, you've got to use the paddles to change the regen level that you actually want again. So it's all there, it all works, and if you're coming from a Hyundai or Kia, I guess with the paddles you can be quite familiar with it very, very quickly, but it's a lot to take in. For someone like Susan, when she drives this car, she wouldn't fiddle with any of this. You'd just get in and drive at whatever the default is, and I guess that would be something like regen level, I think she'd probably enjoy 1 or 2, probably 2, regen level 2. So every time she gets in and it turns on and off and it goes back to 3 perhaps, yeah, she's going to be a little confused by that. And if she presses it and it doesn't break at all, she probably won't know how to press the button to make it go into regen. So I prefer the Hyundai method of doing it. So it's regen 0, 1, 2 and 3 and do it all from the paddles. We're having this button, nah, Honda should scrap the button and go just from the paddles. That would work better. Right, what are we doing on second lap? We're at the top of the hill and we're getting 5 miles per kilowatt hour. So again, 5.1 at the bottom. It's not going to improve. Or if it is, it's going to be tiny. Alright, so this little Honda E has a bigger battery than the Mini. Bigger usable size battery as well. So instead of 28-29 kilowatt hours, I understand it's 33 kilowatt hours, or is it 32 or 33? I'll put it up on the screen exactly what it is. So it's got a bigger battery, but as I picked it up, it had a lower range than the Mini did when I picked it up. And efficiency wise and range capability of the car, yeah, it's nowhere near as good as the Mini. So even with a bigger battery, this car isn't going to have the same sort of range from what I can see. I mean, this is the most economical I can do. I'm doing 28, 29 miles an hour. I don't think I could get any more economical than this, and we're still only at 5.1 miles per kilowatt hour. It has not gone up. Let's take it off one pedal driving. Or should we try a different mode? Let's try one pedal driving and regen level 1 and see whether we can get slightly better efficiency using that. So 5.2 miles per kilowatt hour is the best I've seen on this screen so far. Multiplied by, let's say, 30 kilowatt hours of energy is 150 miles. So that's 150 miles of city driving at 30 miles an hour. Wow, that is not good. What I'll do as well on this trip, since I've got the car for a little while, I'll finish this lap and just make sure that the efficiency doesn't change again. And then I'll forget efficiency, reset the trip and have a bit of a play and see what the efficiency is like when you're just driving, shall we say, more normally. So a real world test, which I know all you people that love to comment saying my tests aren't very practical for the real world. Well, they might not be for you, but not everyone drives in your real world conditions of motorways at 70 miles an hour. There aren't any motorways in Norfolk, for example. A lot of people drive small cars to the city. They drive them around country roads. They drive them to the friends. They don't do long distance journeys. They don't do high speed journeys. So my tests are doing something different, not real world tests. They're testing what the car's capability is if driven slowly, cautiously, on slower city roads and rural roads. So it's just a different test, and I see it as an ability to see what the car is capable of more at its maximum, rather than what you could expect from the average driver. Because I don't like the idea of me saying, right, here's a real world test and this is what you should expect from the car, because the conditions might be different, the roads I'm on might be different, my driving style might be different, the level of regen that I prefer using might be different to you, so you're not going to get that same real world example. I think it's much better to thrash the car and then see what the worst could be, drive it really, really economically and see what the best can be, and then you can judge based on your driving style and environment that you drive in, where on that scale you think you're going to be. So, range on the car says 95 miles now. It continues to go up, so someone must have been having some fun with this car a while ago. The one pedal driving is definitely comfortable. You can definitely use it in 1, 2 or 3 regen levels. It's one pedal driving in all of them really, depending on how assertively you want the car to brake, and I guess that depends on how fast you're actually driving as well. So I like the one pedal driving, it works, I like the steering, I like the comfort of the car. Visibility is really good. I guess visibility is one of the big things with this car because of these cameras, and because there's so many cameras on it, you've got this bird's eye view as well. When you're parking, it's a top-down look at the car, and that's quite nice. It takes a little while to look at the picture and steer to see what you're actually looking at, to see how beneficial it is. But yeah, I just used it pulling out my driveway, and it did give a much clearer idea as to how close I was to an actual obstacle. So I like that bird's eye view, the extra cameras, visibility for parking, those sort of things. Very, very good with this Honda E. So the big but comes here now, I guess, that I've driven the car for, let's say 20 odd miles now. I've started to get a feel for it in my hands. It's nice and high tech, it's nice with visibility, it's nice with the information. It's a little bit complex with how much there is and how you move it around. So it's only really going to be a benefit to people that love the tech and love to swap and change things, like changing regen levels. Someone that just wants to get in the car and drive it. This might have been a better car to strip all this out and just go on for like the Mini used to, with one dash, one piece of information and one strip here, and just make it very plain, very simple, very uncluttered. This could have been a very, very different car. Instead of high-tech expensive, because this is an expensive city car, you know, what if they had stripped everything out, all the tech out, and tried to make this a really, really cheap urban car? I think that would suit this car better than an expensive high-tech car, because, yeah, the big but, it's just a bit boring. I'm just sat here going through the motions, and I don't feel... It's a good drive, it's a good car. I don't feel connected to it. I don't feel like I'm having fun. The actual driving part isn't really a lot of fun. The car is fun, and it's got some lovely looks, and yeah, people are looking at you and pointing because it stands out, but the physical driving side of it, do you know, I almost want to say it's the least engaged I've felt with any EV I've driven, but that's not true. What this gives you that's different is the look, the feel, and the technology. Is completely different. So this car doesn't really compare to many other things. It doesn't compare to the Mini at all. If you're considering the Mini, then you'd have to ask, why would you consider this? Because this is nothing like it. There's no engagement with the car, there's no sportiness to it, you're not held in the seats. All the failings of the Mini, which you forgive it for because of what it's really good at, that's not here in this car. So this car doesn't get away with anything. If anything's bad, well, it's just bad, and you won't forgive it. Miles per kilowatt hour, I haven't mentioned it because it isn't changing. It's still 5 miles per kilowatt hour. It is shockingly bad. I am really disappointed with that. Really disappointed. There's no way I'd buy this car with this efficiency. If it can only get 5.1, with me being as gentle as I possibly can, stroking around, then you're going to see 3s and 4s in this, and not a lot else. And God help you in winter. I hope the heater here is a heat pump based system. Otherwise, I just can't imagine how low the range would actually be. Not quite sure why the power flow meter over there is showing 4.9 miles per kilowatt hour when over here on this screen it's showing 5. And trip B is showing 5 and 5.1 as well. So it's showing a slightly different value over there. Not sure why that is. So let's give the car a compliment. One of the things I like, there is no bars for the battery. There is no big half of the screen anywhere here or over here showing how many bars of battery you've got left. So there's nothing to calculate. It's 83%. That's what it is. And over there it's 83%. That's how much battery you've got. It's just a number. I like that. Thank you, Honda. That's the way to do it. Right, 5.1 miles per kilowatt hour. We aren't going to get any better than that. So let's reset the trip and let's just drive more normally and see what we get. Well, it's telling me I'm in a 30-mile-an-hour limit, and I'm not. I'm in a 60-mile-an-hour limit, so that's a bit of a fault on the speed sign recognition system. It's now ignoring me. Whoa. So I'm doing 45 miles an hour, so I've accelerated in normal mode just to 45, and it says 1.8 miles per kilowatt hour, 2.3. This is going to be a scary low number. So I'm not hooning around. I'm driving what I would call normally, real world. Okay, we are uphill now, so it is going to be a low number anyway, but how low? Let's have a different view. Instead of looking at me, you can look at the outside view. So again, a nice mild acceleration to just under 50 miles an hour. It's a nice smooth car. It feels reasonably powerful, but just feels right. It feels right for the car. It doesn't feel overly powerful. Doesn't feel underpowered either. And again, we're in normal mode. Get past this runner. Put my foot down a bit. Okay, it's got some nice EV pickup. Yeah, so it accelerates well. It doesn't feel like 130 horsepower. Probably somewhere between 100 and 130 is what it feels like in that mode. So drive mode, where's drive mode? So let's put it into sport mode and just feel what's different about it. Feels very wobbly and light on the front, a bit like the Ioniq. It doesn't like sport mode as much. Oh yeah, it lifts and rolls and it's a bit jerky. It's not that enjoyable. The throttle response is definitely better and it's got more horsepower. It feels more powerful, but the suspension and handling just, well, it's a different sensation. You know, the Mini is tight, the Kona is tight, and it holds the road, and just the weight of the car feels more balanced in sport mode, whereas this is wobbling around more. Yeah, I would compare this to Ioniq levels of sport capability, but nowhere near the Kona and nowhere near the Mini. Nasty little rattle. I don't know if you can hear that on the camera. Yeah, nasty little rattle has appeared on the front. So build quality, there's the first question mark for that. Nothing coming. And a bit of traction control clunking there. I really put my foot down and that didn't feel very nice either. Not sure what that was. Not sure if that was the tyres slipping or whether that's the anti-skid system on how it worked, but this car likes to be driven slowly. This car doesn't like to be driven very quickly. It doesn't feel comfortable with it in my mind. Yeah, now I can hear another rattle as well coming from the door. So that's a couple couple of rattles this car's got, and the road noise. There's a bit of a boom from the tyres again. I would hope that this would have been quieter and better than, say, the Mini. I'm not sure about the Kona, but yeah, the Kona's got hard tyres, so I would have hoped it would be better than that. But it's not really quiet in here. There's a few noises, the road noise and then the rattles. So I'm not falling in love with the car as I'm driving it. My opinion, I think, is getting worse. Because you have to ask yourself, you know, not what's its party piece, but what is this car good at? And so far, it's good at going slow. But then the really slow stuff, when you come into a park and you're moving forwards and backwards in reverse and parking, I found that really jerky and not very smooth. The Mini did that way better. So for manoeuvrability, as in on throttle and off throttle, and how smooth and in control you feel, the Mini was way better at it than this. Manoeuvrability, as in turning circle for this and how it goes around corners, yeah, this is its party piece, isn't it? That it can turn like an old taxi can. But what else is this good at? It's good at looking different. It divides opinions on its looks as to whether it looks cool or not, whether it looks young, whether it looks old, whether it looks high-tech, whether it looks angry from that front view. I think it looks like a Suzuki Ignis from the side view. I think it's a really ugly looking car from the side view, but the front view I absolutely love, and the back view I quite like. So it really is a bit of a Marmite car. Do you like the brown seatbelts? Of all the colours to choose, it suits quite well with this rather fake looking wood. It sort of blends quite well. So the interior, even though it's a, shall we say, a cheap fabric looking interior, it's all right. Yeah, it's nice. It doesn't look cheap. So you'd think it would look cheap, but it actually doesn't. It looks all right. I like the material choice, and I like the orange or brown stitching that's in the side in here, dividing it up. I think it's quite nice. It's a nice interior place to be. It's nice and light. Now that I've had the sunroof open all the time, I much prefer it with the light coming through. The motor noise and the vest noise are quite subtle and quite nice. The noise is there and you can hear it accelerating. It just sounds like an electric car. There's nothing offensive about it. I haven't found anything offensive about the indicator noises, the turning on noises. It's quite a nice car. It doesn't annoy you as much with the beeps. You know, the Hyundai cars beep at you a lot, telling you to grab hold of the steering wheel and you've crossed a white line, all those sort of things. This is being very nice to me and not giving me any hassle whatsoever, so I quite like it. So there we go, we're finished. 3.4 miles per kilowatt hour is what this gets in the real world in country lanes. Then we got this jerky stuff again. Oh, on and off and on and off. So is that brake hold on? Brake hold system not available. Single pedal control activated. So take single pedal activation off. And now it doesn't hold. Now it does hold. Here's a quick look at the reversing camera. Yeah, with all the lines, that's quite nice. Even in drive mode, I've still got the reversing cameras on at low speed. EV menu. Open charge lid. With an extension lead plugged into the socket running through to the boot of the car, you could power just about anything. I'm going to try a chainsaw and a coffee machine. Why not? So let's have a quick go. Can the Honda E power a chainsaw? I think that's a yes. So what you need after a good test drive is a fresh coffee. But what car can make you a nice cup of coffee? So if you can't already tell, this car's not for me. Other people are going to like it, I'm sure. It just doesn't suit what I'm looking for my next EV. So unfortunately, I won't be buying the Honda E. But I'll leave you here with the trip information, all the 3 different trips that I reset. 5.1 was the absolute best I could get. 3.5 was, let's call it, real-world driving. I wouldn't expect to get much more than 3.5 to 4 miles per kilowatt hour. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope it provided us some useful information. See you again soon. Bye for now.